Are you starting off your spiritual journey and looking for spirits? Spirits can be nice, they can be dangerous, and they can just be like over our head sometimes. Today I want to cover some spirits that I believe are the best for beginners to connect with safely. We're going to cover some uncomfortable truths. We're going to cover some pro tips. But upon leaving this video, I believe you will be much more well informed to make your own decisions with confidence and guidance going forward regarding spirits. Hello everyone, I am Solomon Pakal. I am a generational brujo. I am a historian and I am an occult researcher. I got over 20 years in the practice, and it is my pleasure to be presenting to you the knowledge I've acquired over study and practice for the better part of 2 decades. Spirits. It's probably the most popular of all topics in the occult. We get a feeling when it comes to spirits, right? We get a feeling that like we're getting additional help, we're getting added muscle. These are things that are true about magic. However, in the modern day, with an influx of information, and it has been this way even before AI, before ebooks, just like the mass paperback revolution of esoteric literature, there's been a kind of an entitled approach when it comes to calling upon spirits for magic. While certain practices do regard humanity in an elect position to command spirits, I believe that in actual practice it's a bit more nuanced than that. I think a better way to look at it is that if you're human and you start doing magic, you've got the potential to really command some muscle when it comes to spirits. But oftentimes, that kind of authority has to be earned. In my honest opinion, in my professional assessment over working with clients for many years and cross-training with many practitioners, I don't think spirit magic is inherently beginner. I don't think it's inherently beginner. In fact, I think you should probably have a few stripes on your belt before you really try it. There have arisen several like more modern traditions that say that you can just go to spirits and whatnot, and while you can, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be successful. And also, I would say the biggest detriment to spirit magic for beginners is beginners are still grasping their psychic abilities and their bearings on spiritual discernment. People have to get a lot of reps in to properly discern spirits, because there's a lot of spirits that will just answer the call and claim to be what you were calling, and they're really not that. They don't necessarily have to be evil spirits, but they can just be like small-time spirits that want to feel big. Having spiritual discernment and the skill to really communicate clearly with spirits, it takes, I would say honestly, a lot of work. There's some people that can do it better than others, and I would say that those are a rare few. I would question anyone's interpretation of a spirit if it does not repeat patterns that have been associated with that spirit over time. What makes a lot of these documents remarkable, like you're talking about old documents, whether they be ancient or like Industrial Revolution era or early 20th century, what makes them remarkable is that despite vast distances and vast periods of time, certain patterns have been able to hold up. Now there's some patterns that have been broken, but the ones that hold up, it's a pretty safe bet that's what the spirit is like. Again, because of the microwave nature and consumerism that has been placed upon magic and witchcraft over the past like 20-ish years, it has given beginners a false sense of security when it comes to interacting with spiritual forces. I myself, over the past 2 years, have had a shocking amount of clients that have had essentially entities claiming to be something and they're not, and because this is really like the client's first spirit interaction, they feel really devoted to that entity. They feel special, and this spirit knows that it's making them feel special, so that they will essentially entertain this specialness and they will entertain this identity of the spirit for the sake of feeling special. And maybe they get some kind of result, but you got to keep in mind, a result is not a testimony of I'm doing everything right. That being said, spiritual authority is a thing. Spiritual authority is something that happens over time. And for everybody, it's different. Everybody is different. I can't provide a blanket solution for you. I don't think many paths really can. And there are invocations of power, right? To essentially gain spiritual authority when you don't have it, or maybe you have a lack of. I have found that even if you act as if with certain incantations and invocations, sometimes it still won't work. Certain spirits can sniff it. They can tell what's up. Also depends on the kind of spirit. Let me just say this, because the topic of gods is actually much bigger than this video. But while all gods may constitute as some kind of spirit, not every spirit is a proper god. Okay? So people should stop treating every spirit like a god. There are many different types of spirits. Many are inferior to essentially some kind of super divinity. And they're more just like people that are on the other side. I really do not subscribe to the idea that gods are just like people, and if you just treat them like people, they're going to treat you like that back. Because gods are really beyond us, and if they're not that kind of beyondness, then it's probably not a god. So there have been, I've seen just too many beginners and intermediates just swindled by like local land spirits and or malicious entities. I have seen that. And I've seen it a fair amount of times, an alarming amount of times. And as far as discernment goes and getting acquainted with the echelons of spirits, I have a book recommendation at the end. There's also this bad idea, this bad notion that bigger is better when it comes to spirits, or badder is better. There's like even memes that go around of like this high school kid trying to cast a love spell on like this girl to go with him to prom. So he summons like Nyset from the Lovecraft mythos. Just this thing that's so beyond our mortal desires that is completely unnecessary. But it's this idea that bigger is always better when it comes to spirit magic. In reality, you could get a lot done with your local land spirits if you develop a good relationship with them. That's how kind of immediate and more appropriate to the task like spirit magic can be. On the note of badder being better, I too grew up with this notion that I have to go to demons because demons, they will break the rules for you. And I'm telling you right now, without going into the subject of demon magic, that is most certainly wishful thinking. That is really self-important way of thinking when it comes to spirit magic. And if you hear these messages from people, if you hear these kinds of sentiments from people and they're recommending these things, they do not know what they're talking about typically. There are some spirits that you could leave incense out for 30 days and you can get to know them. And then there's some that are not going to care about that whatsoever. There are many different spirit types, and they're all very different. I could run through the gambit of them, but some of them, I'll just give you an example. So we covered gods. Let's cover a popular one these days too, and I think people are way in over their heads when it comes to jinn magic. I have actually performed jinn magic with actual sahirs on the outskirts of Marrakesh, Morocco. And let me tell you right now, it is, if people got an issue with ceremonial magic and how much prep it takes, and like the amount of utensils it takes to do ceremonial magic, to do proper jinn magic is actually pretty in-depth. And I know I've seen and have conducted abbreviated forms, right? But even then, like there's a version with crystals, right? I've typically found that even just like going to the bare minimum of that was not enough, and you have to implement some more culturally significant items when it comes to trying to conjure jinn. But those are like highly autonomous spirits, and that really is like dealing with essentially another group of people, but they think highly different from you. And you will have to like make bargains and stuff. And making bargains when you have no spiritual authority, that's a tall order. And if you have to make bargains with spiritual authority, that's not even an intermediate thing. Things like jinn and highly autonomous spirits, they have no obligation to you. So that's not a very wise decision to go to. So to get to my main recommendation so you can actually start doing spirit magic and start having fun with it, is that badder does not equal better. Neither does bigger equal better. There's nothing wrong with developing as a magician. There's nothing wrong with being a beginner as long as you want to move past being a beginner. But that typically means getting a bunch of reps in. And you need to be able to get a bunch of reps in safe ways, in repeatable ways, because repetition, you need quantity. You need a quantity of quality reps. You're only going to do that when it's safe. So without further ado, I want to introduce the kinds of spirits that I recommend to basically every beginner. I think they are the best spirits for beginners, period. Like ever. And that would be the 40 Servants by Tommy Kelly. Now, some people might hear that and they'll be like, oh, servitors, right? I would argue that these are higher classes of servitors. What do I mean by that? From personal experience, and I've seen this with magicians too, other magicians. Making a servitor is actually very hard. Making your own servitor is very hard. It is very hard to actually get it to run on full horsepower. It is more often than not when people make servitors, the servitor is highly deficient in its performance and its results and its communications even, I've seen. You need to spend a long time developing the servitor, and typically you need a fantastic physical anchor. And typically it has to be more, like a lot of people say it can be like a tumbled stone or whatever. Okay, yeah, but like there's levels to this, and I don't think tumbled stones and like passable, serviceable items are the way to go, because you're not making the servitor special. You're trying to do it on a budget. And when you do anything on a budget, it's just not as good as the premium product. Tommy Kelly is a remarkable chaos magician. And the story of the 40 Servants is that he originally made these 40 Servants for himself. And he is an actual comic book artist. Combine that with his chaos magic background, the 40 Servants are an amazing pantheon of spirits. I have worked with them numerous times over the years, and I don't think I've ever been disappointed. Here's the other reason why beginners, they want spirits, but why do they want to work with spirits? It's because they believe spirits will yield more results, right? Because more power. The thing is that to get a spirit that you're just getting to know to perform results for you, it's hard to do when you don't have rapport. The thing with the 40 Servants is that they are programmed to serve you. They are programmed to actually help you. So you can avoid a lot of rigmarole and start getting to results by start getting some repetitions in. Getting repetitions with any kind of spirit will lead to more results. And if you can just jump in and immediately start greasing the groove with results, then now you're cooking with gas for your results. So the art of the 40 Servants, the magical ability of their creator, has yielded, in my opinion, definitely the best like modern system of spirits, as in like servitors and chaos magic, that kind of thing. It's a low barrier to entry. And if you really did want to keep it cheap when it comes to working with the servants, you can just do like an offering deals, and it doesn't have to be anything too extreme. I cannot stress this enough, where that I believe somebody should choose Tommy Kelly's 40 Servants over, like, definitely for beginners, like definitely something like Galatia. I would recommend it over Angelic Evocation. I would even if the goal is Gnosis and Angelic Evocation, get some rounds in with the 40 Servants, because that's just going to help you prepare for the angels. You can wait a month. You can wait 2 months. You can wait a lot more than this. I'm thinking, like, for somebody who's impatient, be a little patient and try out working with these servitors, because they're more than just servitors. They're not like a run-of-the-mill servitor. They're really something kind of permanent. And the 40 Servants embody so many, like 40 different archetypes. I would be remiss if I did not mention the 4 devils. So the 4 devils are related. They're by Tommy Kelly as well. And there's nothing really diabolical about them. They just represent these 4 pillars of human life, and they can help you. And I've worked with them too, especially the money one. And a lot of people are like results driven and money driven. Check out the 4 devils. Check out Jerdel. Get some rounds in. I'm pretty confident you will get results. So this is the best pantheon of spirits for beginners that I would suggest. In the future, I will make more like a review of my favorite memories with them, but I wanted to address the pitfalls that beginners would have when trying to get into spirits. My answer is either develop your psychic abilities with various exercises and practice modalities, get a bunch of reps in. Or if you don't want to wait to get into spirits, because you can develop psychic abilities by working with spirits too, like even like my psychic abilities as an advanced practitioner get better from working with spirits. However, you don't have that, the kind of spirits that you can work with as a beginner are limited just because your skill. That's just the truth. Given that, you can work with the 40 servants, just general spirit work with them will enhance your psychic abilities. But there are also servants that can help you with them. I'll cover those next time, but I've offered you the 40 servants. The book I am going to recommend to you for developing your skill set when it comes to spirits is Spirit Speak by Ivo Dominguez. I've been teaching a local class and have a digital product called Spirit Kind, and it took a major cue from that book. I had messaged Evo and I had said, basically I was running into a lot of problems with just people talking to spirits that they swore the spirit said something and it really didn't say that, or it was a different kind of spirit. And it was becoming kind of an epidemic with people getting swindled by spirits that aren't what they say they are, or they're glamorizing themselves. So again, I will do a follow-up with the 40 servants. Check out my digital product, Spirit Kind. Check out Evo Dominguez's book, Spirit Speak. Please, when it comes to spirit magic, be honest with yourself. If you're still beginner, if you know you don't have spiritual street cred, spiritual authority, pick up something like the 40 servants that can usher you in safely, well, as safe as possible, with spirit magic. Remember that magic is neither inherently safe nor inherently dangerous. It just is what is, and that includes the 40 servants too. If you ask for something the wrong way, it might happen to you, but it might not happen in the most ideal way. However, I will say the 40 servants provide like good training wheels for you to get into spirit magic. And they can also be used by advanced practitioners as well. I use 40 servants essentially when I have, like, my altars are occupied. Like when my altars are occupied, I got too much things going on, but I need additional help, I will go to them. So it's not, you shouldn't look at them as just like the Chuck E. Cheese or something of spirit magic. Anyway, totally recommend them.